Get it.
Hello and welcome to My Public Life as American Nerd. My name is Eddie and I am here with Jenna Sparks, the woman behind the art of Scarefair. So before I get started, I want to first let you guys know that this is my second to last podcast before I go on a break. So we're gonna have Jenna, and then we're gonna have one other podcast after this, and then I will be on a break. So
Good. Well deserved.
yeah. Well, I kind of don't want to be. I'm kind of used to doing this, but I think I have to be.
Yeah. I know it gets really exhausting, and we've been working really, really hard to put it nicely and diligently.
Now,
So
Jenna, you do podcasts as well.
we do. We actually, me and my husband Joe, Mr. Joe Sparks, we run the World of Myth Bits podcast, which is a literary magazine for the world of myth. And that one's a whole thing. We're still in the middle of a magazine review. Now, every month an issue is released and we go through it, we read it, and we review it for all of the writers, all of the artists, all the poets, everybody who submits. They get to hear our generous thoughts. And so the biggest hurdle has been but the 100th issue was just released. And it feels like there are hundreds of entries. So it's taken us several weeks just to get through. Usually we get through it in a couple days. This one, it's huge. So yeah, we've had to pause it so we can go finish reading the magazine before we record the second part of the review. So
now let me get everybody that's listening to, mainly the Scarefair crowd, but also some of my listeners as well. You talked about the world of myth. Now, Scarefair, which is coming up on October 30th, is an expo, and the expo is a kind of like an arm off of the Pulp Culture Expo, which is run by Jay Zaman. Jay Zaman is a publishing company that we both work with. And Jenna, you are a podcaster as well as do some other work for Jay Zaman and with the World of Myth and the publishing company in general. And you also what else do you do with for Jay Zaman and the World of Myth and other things?
So when we first stepped on it, started with a podcast. And then we kind of graduated into other sectors. Last time means nothing anymore. So PCE 2020, that feels like PCE 2012. It feels so long ago. I was reached out to. That was when I started doing all of the graphics, and we were, hauling ass to get it done. And that was really, I think, where I kind of got to share that I know what I'm doing, And so we jumped into the podcast, and then I started doing book covers. I illustrated a book by David K. Montoya, who, as we both know, I'm sure everybody knows that name by now. And oh gosh, what else do? I write reviews for the magazine every month. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I do a boatload. Is what I do.
In 2020, February of 2020, I
30
went,
years ago.
yeah, it seems so far along. Uh, I went to the Pop Culture Expo. I was doing a podcast with these other guys, and the podcast were invited to do our podcast live from that area, from the actual Pop Culture Expo, which was run by Jason Wan. And I that's where I met Jenna, and I purchased. Oh, I didn't. My wife purchased this art right here,
My
which
baby Jay.
what which you had a lot of art that I had wanted, but when I want art, I want like their art, his art, her art, all over the
Hmm.
place. So I have to look at my budgeting as well. And but I asked you if you wanted to do a podcast, and I was like very intrigued with their art, and I really liked a lot of things that you did. Um, and then going forward another year and a half, um, I
AKA
would
30 years.
yeah, I was asked to help out with Scarefair and the Pop Culture Expo for 2022, because 2021 was still COVID was around, and that kind of killed the Pop Culture Expo for 2021 early on. In 2021, that's when David Montoya and some of the board members of Jason decided to do Scarefair. That's when I was asked to come along. Well, I was asked to come along and do some certain things prior to that, but mainly to do Scarefair. And when we started Scarefair, this was back in April of 2021. Uh, let me show you some stuff here. I'm gonna share my screen with everybody.
Let's see.
Okay. Okay. They were sharing this. You see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. That's where Scarefair started. It was an idea. It was kind of we had the logo. Um, we put up the Instagram page, and so that's kind of where we were with Scarefair in the beginning, and then
Is that weird area between infancy and the glint in the eye.
yeah, the logo was a good logo, but when we're looking at putting this thing together, where I kind of had a vision of where we wanted to start and where we wanted to end up with Scarefair as an idea, but I was looking for a graphic designer,
Hmm.
somebody that could share a vision with me, somebody that can actually help with the vision. But the graphic designer, I was looking outside the box, and um, the money wasn't there for us to get one. But we had somebody inside of the company that can actually help out with Scarefair. So we turned this logo into this logo, which is completely different. But we
We
had
had
gone
a
to,
glow up.
yeah. Um, I kind of had an idea. I asked Jenna to share her ideas with me. We kind of bounced back and forth from there. And from there, Jenna was awesome. We started Scarecrow, but a lot of the creativity and design I think we shared, but you went above and beyond and took it to a whole nother level, um, and took a lot of the art of Scarefair, and I think that art behind Scarefair is what got a lot of vendors and artists involved, because they felt like this was going to be something big. And I think
Yeah.
the art had a lot to do with it. Now, a lot of people think that I was the artist behind it, and I've said this many times before. It was not me. The creative part of it was kind of like a collaboration between the both of us, but your
Yeah.
artwork was amazing. I mean,
Well, thank you.
you took this into a different level. Now, I do want to share something, and that is this logo. Let's see, this logo right here.
My baby.
That logo right there.
I love it.
That took a lot of weeks between you and
Yeah.
I. Some frustrating conversations because my concept was kind of this, but I was taking it into like an era, into a
we were transcending time and space in these conversations with what we wanted to approach. I think and we were trying to figure out the best aesthetic to match with psychotic. And I know we had both, because when we started talking, obviously Rob Zombie was on mine, because
Mhm.
you had just started talking to American Zombie.
Right.
And what do you think of when you think of Rob Zombie? You think of, like goth
Psychedelic.
funk,
Yeah.
psychedelic. You think of that aesthetic. So
Mhm.
I think when we were first initially talking about it, that was where our heads were at. And as with everything, evolution occurs. And then it moved backwards in time
Well, I
to,
think what it did was that we also were looking at the color scheme. Now,
yeah.
the color scheme had a big to do about with the rest of the product. Now, the color scheme, I wanted that fainted kind of look,
Mhm. Sepia
but
is how
sepia,
you
yeah,
refer
yeah,
to it
sepia, yeah.
initially.
Initially, I said sepia, but I was giving you an era saying, oh, it's more like 70s psychotic, like
Yeah.
70 psychedelic.
Mhm.
And so you'd come back to me, how's this? And it was 70s. And I was like, oh, that's not what I was imagining, but that's cool. I like I and the circle in psychotic, which is the O and the swirl, that
Mhm.
would we talked about that so much,
Yeah.
and you scrapped it and scrapped it and scrapped it because it was going back and forth between us. And I think that 70s look wasn't the look that I was going for, or you were going for, because the sepia look and the 70s look
Mhm.
clashed. They clashed,
Yeah.
completely clashed. So we had to go. And it was nerve wracking because a lot of times you spoke either through text or even if we spoke over the phone, a lot of the
Intention, I think, got confusing.
yeah, but when you came out with this and showed this to me, okay,
Yeah.
I think we've got it now.
Yeah.
And then you came back at me with this, and I said, that is awesome.
Yeah.
That is completely not what I envisioned, because it was above and beyond uh so
I
much
I
more.
always try to, I think my biggest thing is I like people to have options when we start tackling these big projects. Um, we can start out with an idea, but like I said, everything has to evolve. You know what I mean? Like there are times where you hit the nail on the head the first go, but sometimes you need to start somewhere that's like the polar opposite of the intended goal, and you can kind of flesh out the finer details that way. And even right now I'm working on a project with a friend, and we have like a really, it's not difficult, we're not starting from scratch or anything, we're just kind of finessing an existing work. And even so, I want to make sure she has as many options and just ideas present, because she's also an artist. So luckily that helps a lot too. So she kind of knows where my head's at. I see where her head's at. And so that's the biggest thing though, like I said, is just making sure that we get where we're headed. And it takes a minute. There's no doubt about that. It takes a minute to kind of fall in, not necessarily line, just synchrony,
Yeah.
especially with aesthetics and designs, because we could go a million different directions with a theme like Scare Fair.
Yeah.
And you know, we talked, I know we talked a lot about, you know, like 70s horror in general, not even just like the general vibe of 70s horror, just that vintage feel. And I think that was kind of the takeoff point that we were able to I keep saying evolve, but that was what we evolved from ultimately, I think. So that worked
Yeah.
out.
Early on, we started this in April, and as we're getting Scare Fair up to be marketable, we took this design here, and the special guest is an orange, and the other vendors are in green. Now we took this and we put the vendors into the box, and every box was uniform and the same.
Mhm.
I've gotten a lot of praise on the way that we're marketing Scare Fair. And I'm not talking just from the vendors, because the vendors thought that this was an awesome tactic, but I also got it from other venues and promoters
Mhm.
as well. And then from there, there's other copycats. Because we started Scare Fair back in April, and our event is not till the end of October. A lot of events have already gone and passed, but some of them, as we noticed, were copying the same
Mhm.
idea structure that we did, and some of them actually went really good, and putting some back layers and back of the graphic
Yeah.
front, and some ideas for the future. But I think what I've gotten feedback from some of the promoters and vendors was that we kickstarted this season.
I think so. I think we really did. The biggest thing is legitimacy. You know, that's a word I like to apply a lot to every endeavor I go into, because especially if you're somebody who ever has dealt with like imposter syndrome, it's a scary feat to ensure that you are seen as a legitimate anything, whatever your place is. So with Scare Fair, I wanted to make sure that we looked legitimate, because we can slap graphics together easy. Like that's not a hard thing to do. There are countless apps, countless little toys for the computer that you can just slap things together easy enough. You can go in Fiverr, find someone to make a really basic logo for, you know, a reasonable amount. And really it's not that reasonable because they're undercharging themselves. But you know, when you start with an aesthetic and you want the vendors and you want the special guests, you want everybody who is making that bet on you to want to make that bet on you. You know what I mean? They're willing initially, but then when they start seeing, like I said, that legitimacy, and
Mhm.
then they really realize, okay, wait, they're not messing around. They are actually putting in major work to make this.
Time and effort.
Yeah. And so that's, like I said, that's my biggest thing, is just making sure that we can go. I don't want to compete with or anything, but you know, you look at the biggest conventions out there and I mean, they're able to hire phenomenal designers and stuff, and that's their only role. And so that's my biggest thing. I don't want it to look like there's just one person behind the scenes
Yeah.
making all this up, that it's actually like a whole team, but it's not.
Yeah.
You know,
It's kind of difficult, because you feel as if you're slapping lipstick on a pig, but
yeah.
we didn't want that feeling. We wanted it
Hmm.
to be, as much as you're looking at the art, for the event or the expo to come out as much as you saw it on
Yeah.
the website or the page that you're seeing it on. We
Hmm.
wanted to the feel to go on with the expo as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And another thing we wanted to try to achieve was, when we went into this, was, okay, we have all this, okay, but we got to keep the audience interested.
Yeah, because you
So
can start because especially because you started posting back in like April, pretty much way back when.
way back when.
And
Yeah.
so we had to kind of start thinking about how to, keep interest and
Right.
maintain interest.
And then so the next step was video. Now this was one of the videos that you had done, and I
This
said,
one's so simple. It's so simple. Thank God for free resources on YouTube.
yeah. Do I have sound? Oh,
Sound off.
yeah. No, very simple, but effective too.
Yeah, because that's all you need. It fits the vibe, it fits everything.
And attention span.
Yeah.
People that are usually on Instagram or Facebook, I feel that Instagram has taken another leg in the leap and has become the new format to advertising and marketing.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of people are leaning more on Instagram because they want fast content,
Yeah.
something really quick, something really, really. And TikTok, my gosh, TikTok
Yeah,
is
no.
so huge now.
I
And
can't.
I did TikTok like 4 years ago, I think, and I did some pretty funny things. But my age, I'm like, should I do more?
I know, it's like I feel weird being on TikTok. Like,
Oh my gosh, I've done some, and my wife has this onesie, and it's an alligator. It's a dragon, and
cute.
my wife was out in New Jersey, and she was visiting her grandmother. Her grandmother is dying, and
Oh.
I'm home with the kids. I'm home with the kids, and so I'm like, and they're like, "Oh, TikTok! TikTok was a new thing for them," and they're showing me stuff. I said, "That's easy to do." So I throw on my wife's
Onesie.
pajama onesie, and I did TikTok with this girl that I didn't even know, and we didn't never met or never spoke to each other. But
It's
she
like
had
one of
this
those
one TikTok,
stitches or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah, where you collaborate, but you don't know who you're
Yeah.
the person. Okay, so I did that, and then I did another one. Then I did like 4 or 5 different TikToks, and the number of people that responded to them was outrageous. I was like, oh my god, look at all these people I have liked this, and they're like, Dad, you're famous, my god. And I'm like, no, it was something simple that I felt like doing to entertain the kids,
Yeah.
because during that time their mother was not home,
Yeah.
and so I did it to entertain them as well as entertain myself, and I thought that was funny.
But then lo and behold.
But then lo and behold, yeah, and then that's enough. I did what I needed to do and achieve what I needed to achieve by entertaining my kids with these
Mhm.
TikToks. Oh, look at Dad on TikTok. And so they're like, oh my God, my friend saw your TikTok. And and they're like, oh my God. And so there's a couple of them that I did. But today I don't feel the same to do the TikTok videos.
I
But
feel like it's so time consuming. I feel like to make one like 30-second video. You know what I mean? The way just from the effects that go into it anymore. And I did one, and not even one, I did like a reel on Instagram because Instagram's trying to keep up with TikTok. And even my nephew, who's 16, was just like, that's what you're doing. And I'm like, I
yeah,
don't know what else to do, dude. Like,
yeah.
don't know.
My my
I am
daughter's
not.
my daughter was 11. Now she's 12. She's 12. She turned 12 last week. I did a video of all of our all of our comic book artists, and put them in collaboration with the music. I didn't do that. She did that. And I'm like, how do you do a reel? She's like, are you serious? That she did that, and I put that on the page as well. But what you're doing now with your videos, take it further, is just really creative, genius, and it's something that I've never seen out there before. I love the light switch turn on. Now, now, I have never seen anything creatively like that. It's simple, but I know it took a lot of work to do. And you're telling me that you wanted to do so much more with it,
Oh my God.
but
I had okay. So for whatever reason, I don't know why. I don't know if it's something I need to talk to a therapist about or whatever. But like I set ridiculous goals for myself. And sometimes I'm good at accomplishing them. Other times they're so outlandish to the point where it's just like, who do I think I am? You know? And when I first kind of like, I had thought about several months ago, I think it was back in like June, July-ish. And I thought, it'd be really cool is if I could actually like animate a couple things. And I've never animated, I've never put forth any effort into any kind of like animation programs, anything like that. And I I legitimately wanted to actually do some stop motion because um it's an understandable concept, like and I'm familiar enough.
very time consuming.
It's super time consuming. The little stop motion bits that I wanted to do were like super easy, nothing too outlandish. Like I said, even though I like to set those standards for myself, I had bought like everything I needed to do it. It was I was gonna build a box to film in, appropriate lighting and everything like that. I bought the right kind of well, not the right kind of clay, just a clay that another animator who I worship uses, and I was like, if that's what he uses, I guess that's what I'll use.
So this is named sort of the T and a B.
No.
Okay.
It's Jim McKenzie.
Okay.
Who I asked you to go stalk for me. What he was at one of Spooksy Boo's event, and I was like, please go find him for me. And you were like, no, I'm not paying what it costs to go find him. So I didn't get to vicariously get you to tell him how much I loved his work. But maybe next year he'll show up at Scare Fair. Anyway, I was like, okay, so I'm going to kind of copy him. He works in After Effects. He puts all these things together. I can do that. I know I can do that. I could not do that. So what took a lot of time up though was not the stop animation. They were the drawings that I had started kind of doing to fully flesh out like this animated teaser that my brain had started conceptualizing. And I would say a good 25 to 30% of what I actually needed to do. However, it's one thing to have the static pieces, but then to actually make those pieces move, that's a whole other venture. And everything I've ever done, I've been self-taught. So I figured, I can learn obviously how to animate within a couple days. No, you cannot. You probably can over time, but not in a couple days. So it got to the point where it was like I was stressing myself out unnecessarily. So I was like, I have to scrap this idea. And I had never actually like outright told you, I'm like, I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to jinx myself. But I know you knew, like you were like, I know that I know this bitch. I know what she's gonna try to pull some weird stuff out and do something.
Yeah, I was trying to hound something out of you for a while. I mean, I was like, oh my gosh, because here I am trying to put these little videos together, knowing in the background that you're gonna give me something,
just don't know what.
But I'm curious to what it was, and my curiosity always leads to me killing myself, trying to figure out what it is. But I'm trying to get this information out of you, and you're like, I'll show you when I'm done,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And I'm like, okay. So here I am making these smaller videos, just trying to get something out there. Um, but
Yeah. So, and I was so sad, like, to have to scrap it, because I was like, I really, really wanted to put it out there. But then you were like, okay, we need something to start filling up the space for October. And I'm like, oh, actually, hang on now, because I figured I could use what I had already. Like, I could use that to experiment and learn with. But here was this opportunity, like, no, actually, if I can just kind of finish a couple little things, I think I can actually like make an animation. And fortunately, with my limited knowledge of the animation process, and I'm so sorry to animators out there who devote their lives to this craft. I mean, zero disrespect in my complete amateurishness, but fortunately, like, Adobe has character animator. So I was actually able to make a character, and he was supposed to be like the guide throughout this little teaser trailer that I wanted to make, and he was supposed to lead the viewer throughout Psychotic. But I was like, no, what if he's actually just the guide for all of Scare Fair? And my brother, bless his heart, he does voices. He's immaculate with voices.
oh,
That is my brother. And
oh
he,
wow.
like, the minute he did that voice for me, I started writing like the little baby scripts for what I wanted him to read, and I could not hear anything. And it got to the point where he was working so much. I'm like, we're never going to be able to record this. What am I going to do? And I'm like, well, I guess I can do it. And I can just throw, luckily I have Joe, who, is an audio engineer. He can do something with it. You know what I mean? Um, and then luckily we found like a nice little like 45-minute bout of time where we were able to sit down with my brother and record, and he just blew me out of the water. And
I honestly thought that was maybe Joe, maybe someone that you knew, actually doing their own voice, and then their own voice would be characterized through a app that
mm-mm,
changes your voice,
mm-mm.
like a voice changer.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking I was gonna have to do, but nope.
That's an actual voice. That's pretty
That's my
cool.
brother. He's doing his best. I tried to get him to calm it down a little because I'm like, no, like, I don't want to get with any lawsuits. But he was doing his best Mark Hamill impression. And I think taking it away from the Joker
Then Joker,
and applying it to the ringmaster, or the ringmaster, the
the
ringleader,
ringleader.
you can kind of see like, okay, I get the inspiration, but your brain, I don't think totally relates it. So he was having fun nerding out. So, and now we're gonna prep some more videos to put out in the next couple weeks as time evolves and we inch closer and closer and closer.
Yeah,
So
they're pretty cool though. But we have we're kind of setting it up to lead into Scare Fair, but
mhm.
we have quite a few of them that we're releasing. But because the way I was getting them on my end, I accidentally released one that
It's
wasn't
okay.
supposed to be released yet. But they're supposed to also tell a story
Yeah.
leading up to Scare Fair, which is pretty cool. Yeah, I really enjoyed uh receiving it because I was like, what is this? And then I played it and I'm like, that is pretty fucking cool.
I think it's just fun. Like, you
Yeah,
don't see that, you know what I mean? Like, it's always on the business end. It's always, okay, here's the people you're going to see. Here's some cool graphics. Here's some, random things. Here's maybe some stock footage from somewhere. But to actually have uh like a character
mhm,
representing, not so much Chuck E. Cheese-ish, but
yeah,
to have a mascot of sorts for a specific event. Obviously, I don't think the ringleader is going to be here next year,
yeah.
depending on what our theme is, but it's just fun. And I thought that would be really fun to watch and really fun to engage with. I know I would stop in my tracks if I saw that, so
Yeah,
that's what I try to approach everything with.
it's very interesting. It's like you you don't want to pass it by. You kind of just want to hit the play button and
Mhm.
figure out what this thing is. And then once you got one, you want to go on and see the next one,
Yeah,
and then want to see what the hell we're going to be talking about. So,
exactly.
so it's pretty cool. I love it.
So now we know if any other places, any other conventions think that they want to do an animated character, we know. We'll
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. Um, Kind of setting the tone for uh ourselves to outdo ourselves, but not just outdo ourselves, um, outdoing what they come up with as well. So, yeah. Now I want to show. Um, Go back to this. I want to show your art now,
My
your own
baby.
art.
Yeah, I've been so bad with my Instagram. Oh, my lady D.
That has been such a popular character, and it's so
She's a
weird. It's
delight.
yeah, and it's so weird because we saw her. My wife and I have seen her. I believe it's a year ago,
Hmm.
as just one of the characters. But we did not know that it would take off this much, where it was like a
You did
cosplay,
not think that a
and
giant lady with giant boobies and giant everything else was going to make the rounds on the internet.
well, not to the part where not okay.
She hits so many checks for that list of
Yeah,
how to
yeah,
go
I
viral.
do agree that with that, but to make it a cosplayer before
Yeah.
before she was even out,
Actually
there
having
were
content or
they were
context.
actually, yeah, exactly, before the game was even released,
Yeah.
she was already being cosplayed.
Hmm. But
Uh,
she's a powerful character. She's so
oh
good.
yeah,
I tried to fight it. My nephew and I, we started playing through Village, and I was like, okay, she's gonna be an all right character, but I'm sure there's gonna be better ones. And no, lo and behold, I just fell in love with her. And I love Angie. Angie is my favorite character from Village, and I wanted so badly to do a piece of her for Scare Fair, but I'm out of time. So she will come, just not yet. Oh yeah,
well,
that was my
here's some of your art. um
nice little collection.
I I love this right here because this is different than the rest of the pictures that you have,
Hmm.
that than the rest of the artwork that you've done. Now
Well, that one
this,
was pretty much thanks to you because you put me into contact with all the guys from Line Breakers. So, like, you kind of broke that ice. And so they asked me to be a part of um, a benefit back at the beginning of COVID to help with hospitals in the high desert. So I couldn't say no to that.
now do you
It was
have
my
that?
first cover.
Do you have that? I do want to show that. Do you have that?
Which one?
The Catwoman.
I think I put, ugh. And of course, I don't have her on my screen.
Well,
Oh, you know what? Go to my website. I have her on there. You can see her up there. It's just jennasparksart.com. I swear I'm doing all the work back here. I'm not trying to whore myself out in this context.
Jenna Sparks art.
Yep. .com.
I have to. It's very weird because I have to type with one hand because my keyboard is so high because I have to have my camera up. Okay, there it is, right there. Okay,
Yeah.
now you did a cover for an actual DC
Yep.
comic. There it is there.
And I'm a
Now
DC nerd, so I was so stoked
this is
to
for
actually
a
get to do it.
charity run by line breakers for the local hospital. Was it St. Mary's? I believe it's
It was St. Mary's,
okay,
yeah.
St. Mary's Hospital. They did a charity where you would auction off these. It's kind of like a silent auction,
Mhm.
and people would bid on these, and uh, I believe yours was one of the top ones, right?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't as big as some of the other names on there because there were some big names involved, but it did pretty well. I was very proud of
Yeah,
myself
it did very well.
because
I
that's one
mean,
thing, when you go like head to head, not head to head, but like you kind of get grouped with these guys who are super important in this industry. And then yeah, so I was really proud of
now
myself.
there are a lot of guys. I
Yeah.
mean, I'd say a good 80% of comic book artists are probably guys.
Mhm.
But there are some women that I do collect a lot of Domitique, Sun, a lot of female artists that I really, really like their art as well. And to have them, the females, drawing females,
Mhm.
um, with such a good eye,
Yeah.
the work comes out awesome. It's
I think
just
there's a bit of a difference the way uh men and women go about approaching uh the sex that they are most attracted to
oh yeah,
or the gender that they are most attracted to, uh because obviously you're going to draw what you're appealed toward, right? um and so I think women have when they go about drawing other women, there's a bit of a different vibe, because even if your women are attracted to women, they see it in a different way. It's kind of like the old joke, I'm going to get more excited by a woman complimenting me before a guy compliments me, because it means so much more coming from someone of the same gender.
yeah. No,
So
this is one of my favorites.
speaking of misogyny,
Yeah,
sorry, that really was an inappropriate segue, but it works.
but it works. And this is one of my favorite ones for me
Hi,
because you've
Patrick.
captured so much of his emotions, but so much of the person that played the character. I mean, that is an exact portrait
That
of
was
who he was and the character as well as who he is.
I
Um,
loved doing that piece so much.
the
Like,
blood and the, I mean, it's just awesome.
yeah, I love, there are things that I love drawing that I get really sad that I don't draw more of, like blood. Blood is so fun to draw. Um because it's such a dynamic thing. So when you get it, like I love the blood on that one too. And it sucks because the original sold, so I don't even like get to go back and like
Oh
look
man,
at it in person. Like I love it when originals sell, but I also hate it because I like to go
yeah.
back, and because like when you're
Oh,
working on a piece,
you have Christine. I didn't even know you had Christine
Christine
going. Oh my
McConnell,
gosh,
that piece was a lot of fun too. I was binging a lot of her content.
Christine McConnell. Yeah, I I was we my wife and I was disappointed that her show was canceled,
For real.
but you know why. But as a fan of her, I wanted to see more.
Hmm.
Um, I believe she's doing something else now.
Yeah, she's on YouTube and she has a Patreon.
Right.
The minute I found out she had a Patreon, I got on there. So, and then she went through like all of her house, showing us a bunch of different projects that she did to her personal house. And then she moved to New York, and I was so mad because her house, um, where she lived not far from us, up in the mountains. So up in Twin Peaks.
Twin Peaks.
And
Okay.
so that's like an hour away. And I was like, I want to buy her house. I desperately want to buy her house. But
I
again,
didn't
up in
know
the
her house.
mountains.
Yeah, I saw. We did see that her house was for sale, or
Hmm.
she had a house, but I didn't know it was up there.
It's super close. Like I can't remember where it was. It was somewhere on her YouTube, and it's like she's driving through Hesperia and stuff. Like she lived super close. And and even her parents' house, my best friend Victoria lives in the Inland Empire, and her parents' house is in Upland, right down the street from my friend's parents' house. So they would actually get to see what Christine would do to her parents' house in person, because she would always go and doll it up.
Yeah. Well, I like her crafts. I like her style. Um, she reminds me a lot of Dita Van
Yeah, Dita
um,
Von Teese.
Dita Von Teese.
I got you.
Um, and but she was very articulate. I mean, she's
Her voice
loved
is
her.
so
Yeah.
soothing. Like, put her on the calm app.
No, I tried to get a hold of her for Scarefair, and like I couldn't get in touch with the right people for her. But there's another female who contacted us and said, "Hey, um, I'm just letting you know I'm coming to Scarefair," and I was like, "Oh, okay." I've seen some of her work before. She's mainly a YouTuber, but she's pretty big, and that's uh, the homicidal homemaker.
Oh, I've heard of her. Yeah.
Yeah, and she says
I
that
want to say I actually follow her.
yeah, I mean, when I saw her stuff and stuff that she does, and she does a lot of cooking, a lot of homemaking stuff, um, a lot of design work. When she said that she was coming, I was like very thrilled that we're gonna have something like that. And she's coming because she follows Manku and a couple of vendors that we're going to have at the show as well. Missy Sahagan, which is the Manku shop, the Manku
Mhm.
gal, she follows her, and so that's why a big reason why she's coming as well. She wants to come and see her and some of the other vendors that we have.
Y-
But when she texted me, I was like, oh my god, yeah. But
Thanks.
yeah, and my wife follows her. Uh, my wife watches a lot of stuff that she does on Facebook and on Instagram as well. So
Yeah. I think that's what's going to be a big help too, is just as like the word of mouth,
mhm.
in those instances. Because because she follows Missy, look at the link that was made there. So I think that's going to be one of the most exciting parts, is to see what happens after the fact.
Well, it's
You
kind
know
of
what I
weird.
mean?
Yeah, it's kind of weird when Missy has never done a show before. She's never done an expo. She's never done a show, but she's very popular.
Mhm.
She doesn't like to be called an influencer, but I think she's a major influencer because she has a lot of followers that try to emulate her style and the way she does things. But she does things so sporadic, and she just does what she wants to do.
Yeah.
And her videos and everything she does is like, wow. Um, she's a very nice person, and she's funny, and but she's acting now as well, and she has her first film coming out. But with
Wait until you hear the script I wrote for the Ringleaders promo for her. I love
okay,
it. So many puns based off of her work. I'm so excited for that one.
there you
And I
go.
hope she likes it as much as I
Oh,
do.
she will love it. John Massari loved his as well. Um, Now with Misty, was funny was some of the vendors that I asked on board to come on board back in May and early parts of June, it was kind of like a no. And I said, okay, we'll just move on to other vendors. But as soon as we dropped Missy, hey,
Change
can
the
I go?
game.
Can I go? Can I go? And that's only because they wanted to meet her.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody has really met her.
Yeah.
And a lot of people want to come and see her just to meet the person that they buy their clothing off of,
Yeah.
or buy their jewelry off of, or buy their lingerie off of.
Mm-hmm.
And Missy was kind of like um not wanting to do the vendor portion of it because she is isn't not that she's afraid, but she's kind of overwhelmed that she's going to have a crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
It's a big
she
thing.
was nervous about that as
Yeah.
well.
As long as she has 1 to 2 people with her, or 3 or 4 people, she'll be fine. She will be more than fine. Just she's got to look at it this way. She is uh she is the star at the merch booth of her own show. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Which is not a bad place to be.
which is kind of weird because she has a huge line of product,
Mhm.
which is her own product. And then she also has her acting career too, which is
Mhm.
taken off. And her acting career, even before she's an actress, people are interested in seeing what she's going to do.
Yeah.
And in the film, she's in with Robert Mooks and Eileen Dietz and um, and she is the star of that movie that she just put out. It's supposed to be released on October 30th. I think they
Ooh,
might release it a little bit earlier. But she's going to have some merchandise there for Appetite for Sin as well.
nice.
So, yeah. And some posters that she showed me that she's going to have signed as well. So I'm pretty sure
Smart.
a lot of people will love to get their hands on those posters. But Missy is the kind of person that um, very quietly can actually show a big impact.
Hmm.
When she posts her her little ad for Scare Fair, which you had done for her as well, um, it gets thousands of
Yeah.
likes just instantly, like automatic. This is like
Hmm.
you see it grow from not 1 to 2 to 10 to 20. You see it grow from 100, 200, 300, 400 likes, and it's like great. Now I don't know if that relates to numbers of her people that want to come see her, but most of the people that want to come see her are from Southern California
Yeah.
or the West Coast.
Hmm.
So, so I'm glad that she's coming on board and she's very happy about doing Scare Fair as well.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk a little bit about you.
Uh,
Let's stop that there. Okay. Uh, How long ago did you get into art?
I I guess I really like I kind of stumbled into it when I was young teens. I guess the way I feel most comfortable telling it is my friend Jules had introduced me into what at the time was referred to as, and this is never, it never sounds right because it's the weirdest terminology, the dolling community. So what it is, it's pixel art. And it was we would make pixel art, but oftentimes it was like super detailed, hyper detailed. There were people who did landscapes, huge things in Microsoft Paint, and a lot of it was we would make what we call bases. So bases would be like a naked model, and you go and uh you draw on it, you, depending on who created it, you kind of uh modified it a little or something like that.
Now,
Anyway,
did you buy these programs yourself or did you
no, it's
get?
just Microsoft Paint.
Okay.
It was just Microsoft Paint and forums. And there were forums with other people who did the pixel art and stuff like that. So we would make them for each other. And it was a really close-knit community. And so because like it was people, you were pixeling people, movie characters, yourself, just a lot of times there were like anthropomorphic stuff. There's a lot of anime, all geek stuff. And I guess that was kind of like my first foray into, because if you look at what I'm doing now, it's not much different. It's just a different elevated level. And I moved away from digital. But um, then I started painting. I don't love painting, so I didn't really stick with it, but I can paint. I don't have the mental capacity for the mess, I guess. Like I hate having to set up an entire like environment to have to work. So I kind of cut that out. Then I moved on to graphite.
It's I guess it's much harder to buy all these different colors of paint and try to create one color of paint out
Well,
of
I
all
mean,
these different little bottles of paint
the
compared
cool
to
thing,
having everything there on your computer.
that yeah,
Yeah.
that is a significantly other playground.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is if you know what you're doing, it just takes three colors of paint and you can make any color, and I love color theory. That's one thing that, like, it's the building block essentially. But yeah, three colors, you're good. Doing it digitally, entirely different landscape. It's an entirely different, I mean, obviously the concept of color theory is there, but it's a totally different thing. And then you have to talk about like conversion and stuff, which is always fun with like CMYK and RGB, which for if you're printing these pieces, it's a whole thing. You've heard me talk about it so much. I'm sorry.
No,
You
that's
don't
all
need
right.
to hear me
No,
talk
no,
about it more.
that's right.
But yeah, that's why I think I like moving on to graphite, because I started tackling graphite probably like 7, 8 years ago now. And I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea what I was doing. Um, because I think a lot of people, when they think of graphite, they immediately dismiss it as it's a sketcher's tool. You know, it's not something that you can actually really build upon, even though there are amazing graphite artists out there, or people automatically jump to the assumption of charcoal. And I don't like charcoal either, because again, I like relatively mess-free things. And charcoal art is beautiful in and of itself. But I feel like graphite is definitely one of the most underrated art forms, traditional art forms out there.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what appealed me to it, is just because like I think one of the biggest compliments I got, I had done the fawn from Pan's Labyrinth. And he's to this day, he's probably one of my favorite things I've ever done. And fun story behind that one is that Guillermo del Toro allegedly actually wanted to buy that one.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes. And again, this is all alleged, and I don't want to say anything because obviously I never talked to the man himself. But somebody he had worked who had worked with him had attended the art show up here in the high desert, no less. And I guess she had put him on a FaceTime, and they talked to the gallery owners. And at this time I had left, and he wanted to buy it. But it had already been bought, which is again a good predicament, but breaks my heart. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, oh my gosh, like Guillermo del Toro could have had it. But the biggest compliment beyond Guillermo del Toro wanting to buy the piece, I think the biggest compliment I got was that it looks digital. It looked like digital art, because that means that like, cause I love that smooth, almost porcelain effect. And I love graphite for that reason. You know, I love just that super, I don't even know what you'd call it, just that really airbrushed feel. And I don't know, I think there's just so many like underrated factors to using graphite. And then plus you partner it with watercolor, which I like to do as well. And that just makes that pop so meticulously. So I'm really kind of stuck in my ways, I think, with what I like to do, even though I try to kind of edge out. But I still just love graphite, and I don't think I'll ever move away from it totally. So it's been, point to your answer to your question, it's been about under 10 years since I've worked in graphite, but like almost 20 years that I've worked as an artist.
How many times do you create something out of graphite or digital, and your masterpiece, the original, does not come out the same on paper when you print it?
Like when I get prints for it,
Yeah.
luckily it happens very often, because one thing with graphite, when you scan it and when you print it, it reflects, because it's a metal, right? So it reflects, and it comes off with this like green hue, which I love green, but it's not great to have a green hue. So really it's just understanding the tool itself and learning, you know, obviously if you look at my work in person, it's super contrasted. I am not afraid of black. I love super deeply contrasted materials. And so you have to be very careful and meticulous when you go about printing that. And, you know, as we've gotten to talk about, what you see on like a computer screen, so after I scan a piece, is not what you're going to see in person. You know, granted, you're going to see things that you can pick up and adjust and everything, but it's going to translate completely differently when it's printed onto a flat piece of paper that doesn't have illumination behind it, right? So you have to be very mindful about that. And it sucks because yeah, it's really easy to screw that up. Because again, with super high contrasted materials, it can it can just turn into a blob of a mess. But luckily, uh the printers I found after so much work of finding a printer, they are phenomenal, and they know exactly what they're doing. They try to do everything they can to match what they see on a screen to what they're going to see on the paper. So
That's good.
it's not surprisingly uncommon for
Now,
it to get messed up.
how difficult is it to price your own work?
So earlier I talked about imposter syndrome, right? Uh, it's you're gonna face people who tell you you're underselling yourself, you're underpricing your skill, and then of course, if you have anything happening in here, which most people do, but especially artists, you live with, I mean, just a wild amount of self-doubt. And that self-doubt creeps in and it tells you, you can't sell it for that much. You can't price it at that. You don't deserve to price it at that. I mean, really fun things, that you get to hear all the time. Um, so a lot of it comes from, I think, um, mentally stepping back, looking at your work, realizing how much time went into it, realizing how much time went into learning that skill, how much, of course, you think about product and everything like that that goes into it. And so my pieces, I mean, for what they are, like the originals, they're not super high priced. They go from anywhere from like 150 up to 500, the bigger, which realistically is not awful. It also depends, because one of the biggest factors is galleries. If you get your work in a gallery, they take a small percentage. And so you have to price accordingly for that as well,
Right.
Because if you don't, you're the one who gets screwed.
Yeah.
But obviously, if you don't price it just right and it doesn't sell, that gallery is not going to really want you back. So it's such a ludicrous mental game that you have to play with yourself to figure out how you're going to price it. But then you also have to listen to the people around you, the people who also see you and watch you doing this, or people who follow your art and respect your art and want to contribute to your art and however they can. And yeah, it's a freaking game, and it sucks because there's so many components to it. Like I said, with the originals and selling at a gallery, prints, that's a whole other game, because I have my Etsy shop, and I have to sell them for about $20 for me to make really any kind of profit. But like at a con, I can sell them for like 10 and I'm good. You know what I mean? Because I make the same amount of profit,
Right.
essentially. But because like Etsy, they take their percentage, and you have to think about shipping,
Yeah.
which most of my shop is free shipping. Then you have to think about packaging materials. You have to think about all of that. So you get screwed no matter what. But ultimately, it's all up here, that you kind of have to play around with and convince yourself that it's worth it. And no artist wants to screw anybody, in that, we don't want to think super highly of ourselves, but there does need to be a little bit of, I don't want to say arrogance or cockiness, but there has to be some kind of self-assuredness to know that it's okay. It's okay to price your things, a little bit higher, or to price them, if you've put, 40, 50 hours into a piece, they're the right people are going to understand that. They're going to see that.
Now, who are your favorite artists?
Oh, I know I have so many. I am so influenced by so many people. So, obviously, I think my number one favorite artist who I always look to just in terms of skill and what they managed to ever create is Alphonse Mucha, who was an artist at the turn of the century, and he pretty much helmed the Art Nouveau style. And I mean, you'd know his work pretty much anywhere. I'm super influenced by that. Just you don't necessarily always see it in my work, but he's always there in the back of my mind. But in terms of like modern day, oh my gosh, there's so many. I have to go through my Instagram feed just to remember, because I knew you were going to ask me this and I knew I was going to be ill prepared. Um, let's see. Who all am I following? I'm going to have Joe cut this because I'm just going to have to look for a second. Let's see. Oh my God, I follow too many people. I'll have them put up a little broadcast point.
Now, do you I see that you're influenced a lot by entertainment, a lot by
Yes.
movies. Is that your go-to usually?
Usually. I don't do it on purpose. Sorry, that was my end. I don't know if that picked up or not. But I'm obviously, I think most people, especially like people within our age range, are, Joe likes to call us children of the cinema, where we grew up with, the film industry. And I think that's every generation, but I think ours,
Well, this
you know,
generation today, that's a lot different than
it's a
our
lot
generation,
different.
which is a YouTube
Yeah.
generation, a TikTok generation.
Mhm.
They're
Like you
famous
said, that
people.
shorter attention
Yeah.
span.
Their idea of a famous person comes from TikTok.
Yeah.
Ours come from a movie industry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is
And so
very different.
it's totally different. And I'm, I'm very blessed. My nephew, who's like my best friend, and I get to show him like all the movies, all the TV shows and stuff. And he's very receptive to most of it. So I get to share it with him. I'm trying to retrain his brain to have that longer attention span.
It's funny though, because we'll watch a movie as a family and we'll put the movie on. It's a movie that we didn't even pick as the parents. Our 12-year-old or our 13-year-old would pick the movie and they wouldn't even watch it. They'd rather be on their phone watching YouTube. I'm like,
Yeah.
Our 11 our 9-year-old's the same way too. It's like, put down your phone and watch the movie. Stop watching YouTube. I mean,
seriously, it's awful. It's horrible. And especially, I mean, today, it's the films that we're seeing today, or even like exiting the realm of film and entering the realm of television, is so different than I think anything we've ever gotten to see. I mean, how television is so cinematic now. You have 10 hours of
television changed completely.
Mhm.
You had a an era when we're growing up in the 80s and early 90s where MTV and music took over the television, and sitcoms were very popular back then, and then it took a change to reality
Yeah.
TV, and reality TV took over those sitcoms. And then the sitcom genre of the way they did things wasn't like your Seinfeld in the past anymore. Or
Yeah,
like
I was even actually
Friends
just
and
reading an article about, is the sitcom dead? And it's like you have to wonder, is it?
there's very specific sitcoms that are still going today, but I don't think it's dead. But I think,
It's a different,
I don't think it's dying, but it is different.
it's different. It's humor is different. It's evolved,
Well, a lot of humor has evolved into not being humorous, but more of being
there's like
guarded. You can't be funny anymore
you
without
can't.
offending somebody.
Well, I mean, you look at like a show like Schitt's Creek, And that show is
Love that show.
beloved, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's funny because it's like a cerebral kind of humor. And I think because like when you talk to, I mean, like, you know, I'm going to use the dreaded word like millennials or even, you know, the younger generation, what is something we all have, you know, in common is existential dread, right? That's something I think everybody kind of has in common. And so I think that's kind of where humor has evolved, is like to teeter on this like darkness as opposed to raunchy, as opposed to offensive, like just to offend for the sake of offending,
Well, they say
which
misery needs company,
yeah,
you know, and these shows aren't about the rich like Schitt's Creek.
yeah,
Isn't about the rich anymore. It's about the rich becoming poor and
mm-hmm,
watching him be poor, or watching his family just trying to adapt in an environment that they're not used to being in. And and I think that in alone is kind of reality as well.
yeah, yeah, it is. Because I mean, and that's, I think, such a common occurrence is, you know, you like so many people just lose things so fast. And not that that's the humorous part of the show. The humorous part of the show is to see how they've learned and changed, you know.
They
um
haven't.
but they
I mean,
have.
okay,
By the end of it, we are not going to get to a Schitt's Creek debacle here.
yeah. I mean, is that a sitcom though?
It's not. No, because a
No.
sitcom, you immediately think of, you know, the laugh tracks and all of
Yeah,
that.
the laugh tracks.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't know, like I
And the
don't
puns and the
the
jokes real witty and quick,
yeah,
which are kind of stupid, but that's
but
what
that's
we're
the
used
point.
to. Yeah.
Because you don't look to a sitcom to have like the same kind of, you know, like I said, where it's like Schitt's Creek has that kind of cerebral humor. You don't walk into a sitcom expecting that. You know, they're the sitcoms, they approach certain subjects, but it's essentially, it's kind of like Seinfeld. It's a show about nothing. You know, that's its whole point of existing. It's a show about nothing. It's just funny happenings, funny occurrences, and that's it. And yeah, I don't think we don't have that anymore. So I don't think it's dead per se. I think it's just we're forging ahead without it.
I think if Seinfeld were to come back, it would do very well.
Yeah.
I think the ending of Seinfeld was very appropriate. I know a lot of
That was
people
like the
hate.
number one watched
Yeah,
show when
yeah.
it finale.
And it just ended, and a lot of people hated the last episode of Seinfeld. I actually thought it was appropriate for who they were.
Yeah.
They were awful.
Well, I think a lot of people forget that too. It's like when most shows, and like you said it's you kind of forget like everything about the show when it comes to the finale. And then people get really pissed off over essentially nothing when the ending was like truly actually the most fitting ending. Because like if you really think about it, what other ending could have possibly worked?
They could care about anybody else in the
Yeah.
world. They just cared about themselves
Mhm.
individually.
Yeah.
And a lot of people today are the same way. They just sat there and criticized people looking at
Well, yeah.
outside their window, or actually, let's say going to the mall and you're staying at the mall just to watch people
Yeah.
and sit there and talk shit. And that was them
Yeah.
every day of their life. And so that's why I felt that last episode is very
That
appropriate.
was the one that worked.
Yeah, and a lot of people, oh, that sucked. No, it did not suck. That fitted them perfectly. You know, would they help somebody in need of help, or would they sit there and point at it and laugh? And which they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think it's very easy to from afar sit there and get pissy over the ending. Because I mean, and I guess, you know, going back to the actual question of, you know, me approaching pop culture material, is it's because we form these relationships. You
Mhm.
know, we uh whether it be relating to or finding some kind of peace, some kind of inner peace in relationship to the media, whether it's as a distraction, whether it is being completely absorbed by. And I hyper focused like it's no one's business. So like I can get in it, but I think the way we involve ourselves with anything we're presented with, film, with TV, with the written word, with music, with all of that, for people to sit there and deny that, oh, it doesn't affect me, I don't involve myself in that, you're lying. You are absolutely lying. It impacts us so much. We just don't even realize it.
You can show your age today, where you can name off hundreds of actors, but you don't know one fucking YouTuber.
No, I don't. I can't. Well, okay, we can go back. Christine McConnell is one that we both know.
Yeah.
But she started off elsewhere.
Christine McConnell.
But she's not even like a YouTuber. She just puts her content on YouTube.
I don't even know how we know of her. I think it was just through Facebook.
Yeah, well, that's how she got her start, was on social.
I don't think it was even Instagram. I think it was Facebook, and we started following her. And oh, look, she has a television program. But it was already too late when we started watching it, because it was already ready to start getting canceled. It was in that phase of transferring over to another season.
Yeah.
But we knew about her before, and that was through Facebook. But her show was a good show. It's entertaining. I don't think it was inappropriate for the kids to watch. I think if it was on a different network, it'd be doing better. Not a different network, but I mean, you don't even have TV channels anymore. There's no NBC, there's no KTLA, there's no CBS. I mean, if you tell a kid put it on NBC, they'll be like, what the fuck is that?
But now anymore, it's like you don't even want to put it on NBC. Yeah, because you want to put it on, you want like that kind of creative free reign. And I mean, with Netflix in and of itself, it's like they don't care. They don't give a fuck about their shows. You know what I mean? Like the minute it feels like the minute any of their content does well, they're like, okay, let's pull the rug out from under it. Like let's stop it before it gets any better.
HBO as a cable network, back when cable was a thing, it had some adult content that was really late at night, and they would actually, I think it's HBO at night, or HBO at After Dark. I think that's what it's called, After Dark. And they would have this adult content late at night. Netflix don't give a fuck.
No.
When they premiere something, or when they show something, or if a kid has access to it or not.
Yeah.
And I think that's and now you have to pay for, you're paying for HBO to begin with the regular cable
package, whatever.
But you had HBO included in that. Now you have to pay for a whole separate what are they called? The apps. Where you have we have so many apps, but we started doing that way before it became popular. We started getting into, okay, let's just have Netflix and have Hulu, and then we'll pay for this because we don't watch any of this. So we'll cut that out. Now you can't even watch some of the stuff that you're able to watch, because Paramount has their own, HBO has their own, HBO is connected to Warner Brothers, so that's their own. Disney has their own, and so now you have to have all these different apps.
It's exhausting.
And with these different apps, you're paying more than what you were with the original cable.
Yep. I know, we moved over to like YouTube TV, and I'm like, okay, we're saving money because we dropped cable.
But what do you really watch?
We're still spending like, I mean, it's less than 100, but it's more than 50 on streaming services, but it's, on the other hand, it's like, I consume so much that I'm like, I guess it's worth it.
It's like, how many emails do I have left to get a free trial?
Yeah. Where's those generators that you can use? And even it's like Joe and I were talking about, we want to watch that Heels with Stephen Amell. And I'm like, we'll just wait until the whole season has aired, and then we'll do the free trial, and then we'll watch it. We'll binge it in a
Well,
couple days.
what's funny is we have Rukus on some of the televisions. We have, I think, 3 Rukus in our house. And then I started buying that a long time ago.
Mhm.
And that used to be in our bedroom. Then all of a sudden we have these smart TVs that you do everything. The Ruku's included on your television or whatever. But so the Roku, we'd have it in the living room and she'd want to watch something that we're watching in our bedroom. Okay, well, it's not on the Roku, so let's put it on the Roku. Next thing I know, I was getting a charge for something that we have free in our bedroom. Not that we have free, but we're already paying for it. Now I got to pay for it on that
Yep.
unit as well. And I'm like, what the? And it hit my card so quick, I didn't even have a chance to
You didn't
realize.
even have time. Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell? Why did I get charged for something I'm already getting?
Yeah.
It's weird.
It is too much. It's just so much.
But it's easy.
It's easy once you get it situated, but you have to go through that whole routine of getting it situated.
There's the Disney Channel. We've had the Disney Channel since they started premiering it as their own entity, and the Mandalorian came out, and I got it for that specific reason, and then they started putting all their Star Wars and everything together, and all their packages for Marvel together on that specific channel. I don't, what is it called? Is it called the channel? Okay.
Disney Plus in general.
Yeah. So
the whole factor.
So then we got Hulu with it. Okay. And then after the Mandalorian was done, and we watched all the Disney movies you could possibly watch, we're like, okay, let's get rid of the Disney Channel. So we dropped Disney. We dropped Hulu too. We didn't mean to drop Hulu too, but it went with it. Okay, so I'm like, oh great. So now we gotta get Hulu back. So then now with Disney, there's some of the Halloween shows that the kids want to see, and the Mandalorian's coming back, and I'm a huge Boba Fett fan, huge.
So you're waiting for that one.
So I'm waiting for that one. I mean, look at this.
Oh yeah, just a little.
Some of those toys up there are from 1989.
Oh wow,
that have not been opened.
Nice.
And they are my own toys.
Yeah.
So getting back to that, so we just purchased Disney again, and then we wanted to Shudder because it's Halloween season, and they put on a whole lot of new shows and a whole lot of movies that they added and stuff like that. And then I wanted to see Joe Bob, being that he's going to be a guest or thing, so I got to watch that. So I got hit with Shudder 2 bills, one on my TV and one on my Roku.
Oh my god. Yeah. You have to be very mindful.
This just happened last week. I'm just,
oh my god.
Yeah.
So, it's easy to happen. We're doing the whole thing with AMC Plus.
that AMC Plus is with Shudder.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I got hit. I got hit from my Prime, and then I got hit with AMC on the Roku.
Oh my god!
And I'm like, why am I getting hit twice for the same program?
Yeah. So, it's time to sit down and do all the hard work when it comes to figuring out what sign to wear.
What sign to wear, and then also what do I want to watch from that? What do I want to take off to? And then the Discovery Channel, which is kind of weird. It's like a whole network of
they did
all
Discovery
kinds of
Plus.
good stuff. Yeah,
exactly. Like, and now you've got Eli
TLC,
Roth.
Eli Roth. Yeah.
And he's doing nothing but anything with Discovery Plus now. So you're like, well, I guess I have to.
And
subscribe.
He was from Shudder.
Yeah. Like, wait, can't you guys combine? Look,
we just
I
started watching.
See Zach Bagans and Eli Roth do stuff on like.
It's like, why are they doing stuff together?
I mean, I know. Well, okay, no.
And then why is go ahead.
No, it's not that shocking because so several years ago, Eli Roth opened Goratorium in Las Vegas, right? And Joe and I went opening night, and it was so much fun. I got to meet him that night. Oh my gosh. Really? Like, yeah, Joe was like, please take her away from me. Just get rid of her. like, just take her. And I'm just a bubbling mess because
He's
I'm
the
like, I
Jew
love
bear.
he's the Jew bear, and I love him so much. Like, oh my gosh, I have the biggest crush on Eli Roth. I've had the biggest crush on Eli Roth since what? When did Cabin Fever come out? Like 2001. Yeah, so I have loved that man. But point is, when we went to Goratorium and we got to watch because we were standing outside waiting in line, and we were watching like the press junket beforehand. And I mean, there were several people there. And then Zach Bagans pulls up. And we're like, whoa, okay, what? Like, why is he here? And of course, this is several years ago. He's kind of gotten a little bit more lax, in the aesthetics. He's aging very gracefully. But at the time, it was when he wore his hair and like that cemented faux hawk that would not move.
It was like a forward kind of like.
It was the forward, but like you could probably hit it with a hammer and it would like protect his skull, and so you get to see it and it's just shining from afar and you're like, okay, I guess it's just as perfect IRL as it is on TV. Good for him. But it was so much fun. And we actually got to meet, we met Eli Roth. There's several other people there. And then what's his face? From Pantera. Oh my gosh, Vinnie Paul. Got to meet Vinnie Paul there, but he shows up like at all concert or any event in Vegas
or
just anything. Like I've been to concerts with like Vinnie Paul's out there. I'm like, what? Like we went to go see him and I'm like, Vinnie Paul's a him fan? That's weird. Yeah. But yeah, so it's not that surprising to see them partnering up. I think the one that threw me, okay, this was the one that just like I genuinely, my brain like could not comprehend what was happening. I turned on Ghost Adventures because I love it as background noise. There's something about these grown men yelling, bro, did you see that, bro? It just calms my soul. Yeah. Look at this, look at my arm, man, look at my arm, bro. But I was just watching and like Post Malone showed up and I was like, what is Post Malone on Ghost Adventures?
What? I haven't seen that.
It was so weird. It was funny, but it was just weird. No, so anyway, I don't know how we got on this subject.
Kelly and Jack and Kelly are doing a new show, a ghost show.
Oh yeah, I saw like the Osbournes Wanna Believe.
The one that I just noticed the other day, and my wife Jessica's even like, so what is he doing that? Zach is doing a bakery show.
Yeah, is it Cupcake Wars or Halloween Wars? One of them.
Yeah.
Why won't you say that word?
What word? Cupcake or Halloween or?
I don't know. You said you didn't want to say that word.
No, I don't. I don't want to. It was something that I was like, why is he doing that show?
Yeah, I saw that too.
Like, and she's like, why? It has to do with horror. No, it has to do with cupcakes. Look, the cupcakes do not scare me.
Let that man put his hand in whatever baskets he wants. He is harmless and delightful.
I do like a lot of stuff that he's done. I do like his show, but it's still produced, it's still edited, it's still got that actor vibe to it.
Of course.
Especially his show.
Well, I hate, like, one of my least favorite types of programs are like the dramatization kinds, where it's like what you see and like what Eli Roth and Zach Bagans just did. And I'm like, really? Seriously? I don't want to watch it, but I have to watch it.
I thought that would be
but it different. Wasn't bad.
I thought it would be a lot different than the other shows, but it's just like the other shows. I mean, to me, did they do the haunting of the people?
Oh, I can't.
I know there's a one where the people are haunted.
I watched
the house
2 episodes. I think I haven't seen many.
Yeah, but we watched them all. We've watched so many of them that we're watching some really cheesy ones that are done from different states, a different production company, and very low budget. But we'll watch
because sometimes there are gems that you'll find.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And there's some that are very low budget where there's not much editing, and you can tell they're using one camera, and they
Yeah.
capture some good shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the
Well, and
ones that,
plus, I guess that's where like YouTube also comes in handy because there are good YouTube like videos, good
oh my
ones.
god, there's one that the ghost in the pantry.
Yes, that one still like traumatizes me. I think about that
Well,
often. Is
there's a whole documentary on it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
if you watch the documentary, it's better than the YouTube.
Yeah.
The YouTube, I remember the first time watching the YouTube several years back. I mean, my wife watched it, and we're like, "Oh my god, is it real?" And then he'd open a pantry, and there's nothing in there.
And
Well,
then you
maybe
do the deep
the
dive.
maybe
Yeah.
the glass has actual like it was a television screen
Yeah.
built into glass. No, it wasn't. And then they do the documentary, and they talk about the family.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh wow, they divorced and everything else because of that. I mean, he was the thing about ghosts or Ouija boards or anything that
Anything
will capture,
paranormal.
yeah, anything paranormal that captures your attention and holds on to your attention. I
Yeah.
could see why the guy got a divorce. I mean,
Yeah.
not the guy, but the wife divorced the guy and left.
Yeah.
He was probably so embedded into trying to figure this thing out
Mm-hmm.
and then capitalizing on it as well.
Yeah.
But both hand in hand. But still, that whole thing about the ghost in it. We see some really like freaky
Yeah.
shit. Yeah.
Yeah. I've had enough occurrences. Like I'm not gonna sit here and like because I'm like not like a huge believer, but I've seen enough to be like, okay, there's some questionable things, and I'm not gonna challenge that. Like, you know,
Oh, that's the difference between you and I then, because I'll try to figure it out. I
yeah.
mean,
I mean,
we've
like,
had
yeah, I'll
instances
I'll try to
or
figure out
debunk.
before.
I don't try to figure it out.
Yeah.
I know it was something, but I want to believe that it was. Did you hear that?
Yeah. Did I hear that?
Yeah, that bell.
Uh-uh.
Okay. Um, I want to debunk it
Before jumping
before
into
I
it.
jump
Yeah.
into it. So I'll sit there, and there's been times when, okay, um, Jessica called me when I was over at Line Breakers. I was down like 5 minutes from here, and she texted me like an alarming text, and I got it. And she goes, and she sent me a video, and the video was of our bedroom, and she's like, Eddie, what is going on? And one of our lights were flickering on and off. Now it wasn't the light; it was not the electrical. It was just weird. And
Yeah.
she shows me this, and she's freaking out because she heard noises before that, and
Mm-hmm.
she's here alone with the kids, and the kids are two of the kids are asleep. And she says, and I said, all right, I'm on my way home. I got here in 3 minutes. So I walk in the bedroom. It's not doing that, and then so I walk through the house and nothing's going on. And then I come back in the bedroom, we're talking, and then it starts flickering weird. I mean, just like fluttering, not really,
Yeah.
but fluttering. And then I come over to the bathroom and see if the bathroom light's doing something. Then I turn around and I'm talking to her, and literally something fucking pushed me.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Literally, I mean, she saw me get pushed
Like,
from my
yeah, the
chair,
actual
and
like force of
I like
it.
stood there, and I'm like, holy shit. And she says, what was that? And I said, I don't fucking know.
Yeah, no.
But I wanted to like be brave and turn around and go back into the bathroom and see what the fuck was that.
Yeah.
I can't tell you what it was. I can't tell you if it was a nerve that twitch. I can't tell you if it was.
But I think like when something like that, that's what I mean. It's like you can just kind of be like, okay, maybe it was something completely logical, maybe it wasn't. I think, I think there's a lot of instances where people, again, I'm not like a huge like, oh, there's vicious, harmful entities that want to do nothing but harm you or anything like that. Because it's
Well, my
you
thing
know what I
is,
mean? Like,
my thing is when they show these either movies, a lot of them in movies, they really don't show them on the documentaries, but mainly
yeah,
movies, that these ghosts or entities or whatever poltergeists, that they can harm you.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
like,
so weird to
how
me.
can they harm you?
I can see, if we want to
I
go
mean,
down
I
like the
think if
possession route and stuff like that, but like for them to physically harm you,
yeah,
that one takes
like
a
pick you up and
whole,
throw you across the room.
yeah. And I guess it depends, like you said, like you felt yourself being physically pushed. If that were the case, you know what I mean? Like, okay, I guess,
It was more
but
like if you take two fingers and you jam them into my
yeah,
shoulder. That's what it felt like.
yeah,
It felt like fingers being jammed into me.
yeah,
What the hell
yeah,
was that? But I I don't think you could physically harm you, but I think you can get possessed and
yeah,
physically harm yourself.
yeah. Or even, just kind of like have your mental state altered. I'm sure like that's something that could occur, like you said, on the same spectrum of winding up hurting yourself or something like that. Like that, I will believe much easier than like the ghost beat the shit out of me. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like imagine, like, yeah, he got his ass kicked by a
Like
ghost. Like,
he threw a dagger at me and I got stabbed in the chest. Something like that. It's like, and I think that's why these documentaries, especially, you have Ghost Adventures with Zach's, and then you also have the Ghost um, Hunters, which
mhm,
is the other big one that's been around for years. Now that one, those people I think are very close to being real than I would say
yeah,
Zach's shows are. I think
yeah.
Zach is real. I think a lot of things he
I think he
goes up.
truly believes in
He
everything
does
he
believe.
does.
I think he believes, and I
I
think
do not doubt that at
he
all.
wants you to believe, but he
Yeah.
overdoes it. I think with Ghost Hunters,
Bro.
I know. What's it's not Eric. What's his name?
Aaron?
Aaron. Yes. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, he is the biggest actor.
Yeah.
But they have him doing the most of the work too.
Yeah.
But like Ghost Hunters, they will be debunked more than they will show something happen.
Yeah.
And a lot of the shows aren't really showing a whole lot, but it shows. It's not going to show you somebody being pushed down the hallway
Yeah.
or thrown into a wall or something.
Yeah.
More with like Zach's would be like, oh
Look
my
at these
god,
goosebumps.
yeah. I love the equipment that they use, and I'm like or the little
They just go to like an auto parts store and they're like, I think this will work.
or the little stick man that are walking around, like he jumped into your body. He's inside of you. He's like,
I love that.
I
It's just the stick man. I know. I die every time I see that. I'm just like, what?
I would really like to be there or see somebody use that and actually
In person.
a stick that or a phone. I don't know. I don't how
Like, sorry, I can't be here while you guys film this. I'm gonna lose my shit.
how does it form a stick man? I mean, does a ghost actually have arms,
Articulated
legs?
Joints? It must. It must.
I mean, because
it's
since
a little ableist, because what if it doesn't?
I was younger, my imagination of a ghost is like a blob floating around.
Yeah.
like a sheet.
Yeah, Casper.
Yeah. Now you have Stickman as ghosts. Yeah.
We have the Blair Witch to thank for that, I guess.
Yeah.
She set them body standards too high for the ghosts.
I don't really understand that movie either, but I understand the psyche of that movie. But the ending was like,
I love that movie. That movie it's still regarded in my brain as one of the best horror films that I've ever seen, and I don't even think it's necessarily like the film itself.
That
it's
was
how
the
it
first
made me,
reality
it was
movie.
Really, well, it wasn't the first. It was the first one that really, like, I think, because I mean, remember there was Cannibal Holocaust back in the 70s, and that was very similar. We really, I think it was just as publicized that these were real people who had really, nobody knew. I think only up until recently we still thought there were many real deaths in the film, only to discover it was actually just the animals. And now why I have a fear of turtles, because when you hear a turtle scream, it is the worst sound in the world. But you had the found footage kind of films, but nothing like Blair Witch. And I remember seeing that movie when it first came out, and I was like 9 or 10, and I like snuck to watch it with my sister, and I was fucking terrified, like that kind of terror, you know what I mean? Like, and it scarred me. And I was like, I had the nightmares. I had, I couldn't sleep with my closet open because I could see, I'm sure there were like white, glowy white hands peeping out, and I was just sure. And I love that feel. Like as an adult, it's kind of like trying to chase some kind of high or something. You're just like, I want to feel that again. But the more horror you watch, you're like, I will never feel that again. Because
mine would be The Exorcist,
yeah,
because of the reality of
yeah.
the whole thing, of being possessed.
Well, and that's
But
another one that was kind of the first of its time and kind. There were people who had to be walked out of the theater for
oh, there are people
fainting, like,
fainting and
and
yeah,
vomiting and stuff like that. Like, yeah, that was a unique, interesting experience. And it's hard to question, like, where's the next move in horror, because I say it on our podcast all the time. It's easy to shock, and it's easy to offend. It's so hard to legitimately scare, and I think part of it is I think
that's what it is. Are you more shocked in your fear,
yeah,
or did that movie put some fear in you?
yeah,
um
because you can it's I can
I think a movie that changed for me was The Sixth Sense.
that one was, because that was a whole new thing. That was because I mean, throughout the early 90s, what was the biggest thing we had? We had the intense suspense thrillers. We had oh my gosh, like Sleeping with the Enemy, and
Yeah.
films like that, and Dead Calm, that slow
Yeah, but
burn
we still
suspense
but we
thriller.
still had Freddy, and we still had Jason,
And then but
and
then we
but
yeah,
then we
that's
had that type of horror
the Sixth
too.
Sense kind of turned that, suspense into that horror, and rewrote kind of where we were going there. And yeah, that was a good one.
um Watching a ghost walk not towards you but past you,
Yeah,
like in a hallway, and
I know, you just gave me chills, like
yeah, you're sitting there, uh watching down the hallway. Now nothing's coming at you, but just seeing a ghost
hmm
pass by.
that is my favorite kind of horror, is just that more subliminal, the more thoughtful kind of horror, where I mean, because I I love gore. I love all that. Like I said, I love shock and I love offensive material. But to scare me, like, what works for me today is just that more subtle horror, where it's like you have to grasp a
what
little.
what
Like
what
Paranormal Activity was creepy. That
Yeah,
one was good
the
up until
first
the
one,
end. Yeah,
the
the first
first the
one.
first two probably, yeah, because
Yeah,
it gave you a kind of realistic look.
it did. And the ending, that was one where it's like, I don't think I could have done better with the ending. I'm not saying that, but it kind of lost its oomph when we started getting like more of it. But like the subtleties that, it's like when he lays the powder down and you just see the little like chicken type of
Yeah,
feet, like that's creepy, because you really have to look for it. Wreck, where you are watching it, and if you're not like a native Spanish speaker, you're glued to the subtitles, so you're super heavily involved in it, and that movie is so dark, and it's hard to see, and then you're like, oh shit, what's that in the background? Oh my god, that's a child, like just those little things that aren't in your face. I love that. To me, like Cloverfield would have been 10 times better had we never seen the monster.
there was something. No, I know there is something about somebody or something crawling on the floor.
hmm
Watching The Exorcist with her going up the stairs backwards. that was kind of freaky is like because the body can't do that. But then watching The Ring and having her come out of the well
I
all
was gonna say,
creepy,
I'm
and
sure
then come
you're
out of
not
the
a fan
television
of.
shit, it's kind of like that. That was kind of creepy and
That
scary
one
at the
was
same
good.
time. But it wasn't like a. It didn't have a. It wasn't a slasher. It wasn't
Mm-mm.
like a gory monster coming to eat you or anything like that. But it was
Yeah,
just this creepy person just walking. I mean,
yeah,
yeah, and that
disfigured.
yeah. We went to Midsummer Scream and went to the Six Flags booth,
Hmm.
and they were showing off their characters. And one of the characters is a reoccurring character that they've had before, and it's this little short female, and she's kind of just like in rags, but she was crawling real creepy on the floor.
Ugh.
And you're in a crowded room with
Yeah,
tons of people
you're not
around,
thinking of looking.
and you're and there's this person crying, and you think that's the creepiest fucking thing. It's like,
Mhm.
stand up, walk on all
Please.
fours. But even my daughter was like, she got behind me and she was like creeped out by it, and we know it's a person. We know. I mean, she's not gonna.
But
There's tons of people here,
yeah.
but she's crawling on the floor, and her eyes, with contacts, and she's just looking at you all like just staring and creeping towards you. Now she was with Trix, but
Mm,
Trix was another character
yeah.
for Six Flags, so six she was out of her Trix character, but she's standing right next to her, and it's like that fucking thing is creeping me out.
Yeah.
can,
Like,
can
please
you
do
pick it up?
something
Can
about
you pick it
her.
up off the floor and get her into another room? But
Please.
then I saw her inside some of the other rooms as well,
Yeah.
um, promoting her character. But she's a reoccurring character. I forgot her name, but yeah, she's only so tall.
Yeah.
She's a lot shorter than I am, and she, but the way she creeps down and does her body movements, just like,
Yeah. It just does enough. It's yeah, body horror. It's creepy because it's to think of people who can do things like that. That's what makes it creepy.
No, Drastic is going to be at
Yeah.
Scare Fair as well.
I am so excited to see her in person.
Hers not creepy, but it's cool. I mean,
It's but
she
okay. A woman coming out of a box is not creepy. Like
yeah. I got the advantage to see her and do a video that my daughter was in as well,
mm,
and watching her come out of that box because we didn't know she was in the box.
oh
We
yeah.
walked into the room and my son's, hey, there's Drastic's box. And I'm like, yeah, it is on. And then you see a hand pop out. She's like waving hi. And then she starts, and I grabbed my camera, my phone, and started filming her come out of the box. And now my other daughter, she's 12 now. She just turned 12 in the middle of September, but she can put both of her legs behind her head, and she is 5'11".
Oh my god. And
She's
is she the same one who's doing
yeah,
the
yeah,
clown?
yeah.
Yeah.
That's where
Get her into
yeah, she
some
wants
kind of like clown school.
she wants to start doing that. Well, she's learning with all the other clowns from Society Squad,
Hmm.
the Scare Society Squad. So she's hanging around with them now because they were the ones that originally scared the fuck out of her. She was terrified of them, and she was terrified of Trix. Meeting Trix was her first thing. She didn't want to meet her.
Oh
And but on her way home, she's like, "I want to be a clown." I'm like, why do you want to be a clown if you're afraid of them? Because I don't want them to scare me anymore.
yeah.
And it
It's
worked.
sound logic.
It worked because now they're all her friends, and
Yeah.
she knows. But she knows them.
Yeah.
She'd be able to go inside a haunted house and see the ones that she's not.
I
Even
think the older she
Bumpy.
gets, probably just because, especially hanging out with like actual
Yeah.
theatrical clowns, she'll get to see the behind the scenes, everything that goes into creating these personas and everything like that. So then I think she'll reach a point eventually where she's kind of able to separate, like, oh no, this is just, this is what goes into making the character. I can see they're wearing sliders, or I can see, I can see that the prosthetic is kind of maybe not glued
Yeah.
down secure. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, she's been around a lot of them with prosthetics. She's been
yeah.
around a lot of them with the mask, and
So I think, yeah,
she has a mask too.
yeah.
One of the mask makers with for the clowns made
Yeah.
her a mask, which
Aw.
is really cool. Um, she will wear it, like if she's doing an event one day and then the next day she doesn't want to wear the makeup, so because it's hard to get off and
Yeah.
hard to clear your eyes, so she'll wear the mask. But
Yeah.
she she started to get more into and get more involved with um the photographers. So many photographers want
Mm.
to take pictures of her, and there's even little girls that run up to her, oh giggles, or what, how does she know about her? And she sees her online or on pictures or photos. But yeah, it's something that she wants to do. She wants to do more of the contortionist type thing as
That'll be
well.
cool.
And one of the fire blowers wants to do a video with her. Now she's been around them, but she hasn't actually done anything with them. One of the
Yeah.
fire blowers wants to do a scene with her where they're taking pictures, and she's we give her the permission to do that.
Yeah.
So she's excited.
There's one thing I've always wanted to learn is fire blowing.
There's so much safety that has to be involved with that.
Hmm.
And we go to some of these events and we watch some of these guys doing it, and some of them are very cautious of their surroundings, very cautious of what they should be doing, have the protective aids close by in case the fire gets out of hand, or they
Hmm.
need to put something out, or whatever. Then you have these guys just freely doing it and doing shit. I mean, it's
Yeah,
like, what the hell?
willy-nilly.
Yeah, like, what the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah.
You
People
have
are
a kid
insane.
next to you, or there's a car next to you, or there's a bale of hay next to
Oh
you.
my God, no.
Yeah, and they're just all like, oh, check this out. Oh, look at me burn my arm. And it's like, dude,
Yeah. Be a little mindful.
where is your protective gear to get in case your arm catches on fire?
Yeah.
It's like, but there's some
Yeah.
very safe people out there. We're gonna have Unman Dane at our show, and he's from the Beetlejuice house and the Beetle House
Yeah.
in Hollywood, and he's going to have 6 other performers with them. I know a couple of them are fire breathers as well. I'm not sure what they're going to do at Scare Fair, but they're going to be doing something out in the corridor area of Scare Fair.
Yeah.
Um, which is really cool. I'm excited to just have him being there and walking around. And now he is the character for Beetlejuice. He's done Beetlejuice for the past 7 years and has been their primary Beetlejuice at Universal Studios. But he can't do him at Skipper.
Yeah.
But he does have other characters that he does. So it's going to be
cool. Yeah. I think that'll be freaking awesome. I do have to ask, like, where you am I going to be able to see any of this? Where you have me stationed?
If you walk around. No, there'll be clowns coming in. There's be some of the performers walking in the building, scarers walking here and there, and there'll be some. I mean, because John Massari is going to be in your area as well.
Yeah.
So the killer clowns will probably be in that area. There's going to be 3 killer clowns walking around, in full costume. Bumpy.
Oh yeah.
I don't remember if you remember what he looks like.
Yeah.
No, I'm not getting your volume.
You're not? Uh-oh.
Is it me? Are you there?
Hang on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I get you.
Okay. I think it just like glitched.
Okay. Bumpy. He's one of those clowns that you look like and you say he's scary as fuck. And because it's just like his act, the way he acts, and it's like he's supposed to be like a child performer type clown, but he's really creepy, really eerie, and it kind of reminds you of a John Wayne Gacy kind of vibe, but a bloodier type.
Yeah.
And he's got that character for Bumpy the Clown down.
Yeah.
He is fucking creepy. And we walked into a spooky booth at Frank's son's one time, and we're walking, and then Bumpy just waves from a distance at Mason, my son, and Mason like, and I'm like, I saw Mason wave, and I look over and like, but we had already I was already talking to him, so I knew he was going to want to talk to me once he saw me there. So I was already knowing that I was already going to get him to scare her. But just seeing him, like,
Yeah.
and we've seen him several times. And I've actually did an interview with one of the guys that's going to be in Unmandane,
Mhm.
is his group. I did an interview with him. He actually interviewed me for Skipper, and he's going to bring his purple hearse and park it in the front,
Ah ha ha.
and he's going to perform at AJ's bar too. But he's going to be there, and well, he did the interview with me and had Bumpy standing behind me, acting all weird
The
and
whole
creepy.
time.
Yeah, which
Just
is
breathing
fine,
down
but
your neck.
yeah, but I when I talk to him, he talks to me as a regular person,
Yeah.
but he's creepy. He is
Yeah.
creepy. Yeah.
Which is
This,
good. That's what you want out of a character.
yeah, I know a lot of people are going to get scared.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of sliders there. There's going to be quite a few sliders, quite a few creepy clowns. There's going to be Michael Myers walking around. He plays a really good Michael Myers too. There's going to be Captain Spaulding, who
Yeah. That one's gonna be
he
so fun to see.
um, he's done at the Roasted Dead coffee shop in New Kaipa.
Hmm.
They had an event, and I met Captain Spaulding there, the unofficial Captain Spaulding. I met him there, and that was his first time doing him. But he plays him so realistically that he looks like him. So he's going to be there as well up at Scare Fair. Um, Bumpy Tricks, of course. It's going to be a lot of Clown 31. I know of some that are coming that are not announced as well, just
Yeah.
walking around freely. But yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be
Yeah,
scary.
because I also feel like if we had made like an announcement for every clown that's gonna be there, like
Oh
it A would be pointless, but B, it's like, no, we want to surprise
yeah,
everybody.
like the Killer Clowns. I mean,
Hmm.
I met them at an event called Killer Circus, that we were doing a booth at, and John Massari didn't even know that they were going to be there. And John Massari is the
Composer.
Killer Clowns composer, and
He's
so
he's got the in
yeah,
with the killer clowns.
yeah. And so getting the Killer Clowns to come up, I even talked to them the other day to make sure that they're coming, and yes, they're definitely coming. But to
Nice.
have a couple characters walking around like that, that are pretty much legit in what they do, is going
Hmm.
to be really cool.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm very excited for what our visitors are going to get when they come, because they're going to
I
get
think it's gonna
a
be,
lot of performers.
yeah. I think people are aware that it's gonna be a phenomenal, but I think it's gonna be surprising. You know what I mean? Like I think they're gonna be like, oh, okay, yeah, it's gonna be a cool event, but I think they're gonna like turn around and walk out and be like, that was so much better than I could have even imagined.
I, in my own opinion, um, living up here in Victorville. Now there's some haunted houses here in Victorville. There's some asylums over in that valley. There's a Hesperia haunted house. There's a haunted house in Phelan. But to get this amount of performers that are asked to perform at different events, and to see these performers um, in different areas of the an actual expo,
Hmm.
I think that's going to be really cool
Yeah.
for the ticket holders that are coming to see the event, and getting them surprised by how many performers there's going to be,
Yeah.
and then to see them in psychotic, is going to be really cool too,
I think
because
so.
I think there's going to be like at least 16 inside of psychotic, which
Yeah.
is going to be crazy. And there's going to be a parkour, which is going to be leaping from here and there.
Oh my
And then
gosh.
Trix is going to walk around the whole day until 5:30 on stilts.
Oh my god.
So seeing a giant clown and a really she is
I I can't wait to meet Trix up close and personal. I drew her face like with the goal of animating it. So like I'm so familiar with Trix's face. Like I'm so stoked to meet her up close in person.
well, she is very excited to be playing Trix because she's at Six Flags and she does other characters there.
Mhm.
And she does and she does tricks there, but not as much as she's doing all these newer characters.
Yeah.
And so she's very excited for doing Scare Fair. She
Yeah.
is thrilled to be coming out and doing what she loves best, and
Mhm.
that's playing tricks.
Yeah.
And so she's very excited. And just her giggle, the way she giggles, the way she like scares people, and she is a phenomenal slider.
Yeah.
Awesome slider. She's better than any guy slider I know of that I've seen. She will blow them away. She
Yeah.
does things where she will leap over three people on their knees, hands and knees, and she will slide across the floor, jumping over them, and she is awesome. And
Jeez
then and then
Louise.
and then being on stilts and
Yeah.
she can't wait. Um, and then seem drastic, and I hope I'm not missing anybody, but yeah, it's gonna be fun.
That's how many there are though, is you have to sit there and go, wait.
Well, the I hate to not mention the Scare Squad Society because there's
Mhm.
6 members in that squad, and they each have their names. There's Crip Claw, there's the Rizzler, um, there's the Zipper. He has this like a huge teeth, like a zipper.
Yeah.
There's this guy named Homemade Lasagna. Yeah, he's a character, and
Okay. Okay. Jennifer's body, lasagna with teeth.
yeah. Well, no, he doesn't have lasagna with teeth, but his face is kind of scarbled, and he's actually like a what do they call the dude that's at a carnival or at a fair that do the game booths?
Oh, like not a carny, but uh I know exactly what word you're
Yeah,
thinking
he's
of, but I
dressed
can't.
like that type of guy. They're actually gonna be wearing cool costumes.
Yeah.
Their costumes are costumes that you have them all together for this event um, are gonna be really cool. I seen what they're gonna be wearing, and I think all of them together are going to just be awesome.
Yeah.
What else? What other one? I the Scare Squad Society. So
I know it's getting late. It's getting late, and I know it's like we're both kind of like, wait, okay, how many people are there?
well, we got Joe Bob Briggs, we got Darcy, the male girl lady. That
The male
does
girl lady.
well. I'm told to call her Darcy.
Darcy the male girl.
She's Diana Prince. Um, she plays Darcy, the male girl. Joe Bob Briggs, John Massari. We have Walter Phelan, Lisa Wilcox, um, Mrs. Sahagan. Um, who am I missing? We got the Grimlight Collective, who
Yeah.
is an internet sensation, a YouTube sensation. They go
And the Talkie Horror
and
Podcast.
the Talkie Horror Podcast, who is also from Universal too.
Are they?
Yep, they're from Universal. They've actually worked at both of them have worked at Universals for almost 20 years.
How fun.
So they work there as well. They play different characters. I know she plays our Pinner Palmer. She plays Lucy and Marilyn Monroe.
Oh, cute.
Yeah. So they're going to be hosting or judging the Scream Queen contest. Lisa Wilcox is going to be doing the cosplay and costume contest. Now I do want to show this.
Yes. Yes, you have to have it on Blu-ray.
I wanted to show that because that's something that you had suggested that we do.
And something I was very much like we don't have to do it, guys. Like you don't have to make room for it, but like I was manifesting. I'm like, please let them do it, please. Like, please, please, please.
Yeah, that's gonna be at 12 o'clock. That's gonna be our first event. And we're gonna have a audience participation. So if the audience likes to get up and dance and dress like the Rocky Horror Picture Show cast members, I totally say do it. Um, I would love to see that. I haven't seen that since gosh, it's been like 20 years since I've seen anything
You're
coming out of them. So
glitched.
yeah, I'm glitching. Okay,
You're glitched.
okay,
Okay, you're
all right.
coming back in.
Yep,
Hang on.
there I am. Okay,
Okay,
and then
you're back.
there's our comic book artist. There's American Zombie, who is a Rob Zombie cover tribute band. Sorry, they're a tribute band. So um, can't wait to see them. So that's Scare
Yeah,
Fair with over 50 vendors. So Jenna,
yeah.
are you still there?
Um,
Am I glitching?
I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess what we're trying to say is there have been monumental hours put into this. I don't think, I mean, if we had it on a timesheet, it wouldn't fit on a single sheet. So we are hereby trying to guilt you to attend Scare Fair, to to pity us and the hours we have put in. But we just we want to put something on that's phenomenal, and make sure that, like I said, going back to the very beginning with the legitimacy and making sure that it's gonna be a unique experience. I have, if you're at all interested in who I am as an artist, I have pieces that I'm like legitimately going to premiere at Scare Fair.
Jenna will have a booth at the artist alley. So anybody that saw some of the art that I was showing, feel free to go to her booth, meet her. She's the artist behind Scare Fair, and she does her own art as well, and we'll be selling at her booth.
Yes,
So
I have lots of goodies, lots and lots of goodies. And yeah, it's it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work preparing for this. And
well, for the high desert area, for Victorville, I know the LA area has seen many of these events. The Orange County area has seen many of the events. Even the Inland Empire has seen some of these events, but Victorville
never Victorville, yeah.
has never seen an event like this. Whether you've been in
Mm-mm.
Hesperia, Alpha Valley, Victorville, somewhere in the high desert, we have never seen an event like this.
Mm-mm.
So
No. And I've lived here my whole life, guys. Like it is going to be insane in the best of ways. I'm stoked. I'm fucking stoked. I cannot wait for the 31st though, that being said.
30th,
I
October 30th, 31st is
no, no, no.
Halloween.
I know. I can't wait for
Oh,
the 31st so I can rest.
yeah. I don't know what I'm going to be doing the first part of the resting, but I do have to get back and help clean up the aftermath. But
Oh yeah, there's
even
that.
after Scare Fair, there's AJ's Bar and Grill who's going to have the after party, the official after party for Scare Fair. They are going to have Unmanned Dame perform there um, as well. So, yeah. Okay,
Nice.
everybody. Well, it's time to go. We've been on this for quite a while. This
Yeah,
is my longest podcast.
sorry.
No problem. No problem. We had a lot to talk about.
This
It
is what
was
it's
good
like when we
having.
get on the phone with each other. It's a long
Oh
conversation.
yeah, all the time. All the time.
And I know it always ends in one of us going, I'm gonna go eat dinner now.
Nah, my cold dinner.
I know I have a sandwich waiting for me.
Yeah, yeah. My wife cooked dinner 2 hours ago,
Aw.
and no, she didn't. We already had dinner. But I did want to let everybody meet and see you as Jenna Sparks and know who is behind the creativity and the artistry and know that you are will have a booth there at Scarefair as well.
I'll be
So,
there. I'll be there, and uh we'll be getting ready, hopefully, to do it all again next year after PCE.
yep,
So
the Pop Culture Expo in February.
yeah.
Okay, guys, we're signing off. Thank you for watching My Public Life as American Nerd. Thank you, Jenna, for joining me. And everybody have a good night. Good day.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Goodbye.
Bye.